this. Turn off your TV, turn on your mind, and turn up that radio. It's AM Beaver County on 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and 1460 WMBA.
And we're back on this Tuesday morning edition of AM Beaver County. It is August 2nd, and that means tonight is the night that will be National Night Out. And to talk with me about that this morning is New Brighton Police Chief Ron Walton. Ron, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt.
So what is New Brighton doing tonight for National Night Out, just sort of as a general overview?
So we gather tonight between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. in Townsend Park on 3rd Avenue, which is directly across from the New Brighton Borough Municipal Building. Inside the park, we'll have some free food and beverages. The community will be gathering together with law enforcement and different organizations from the community. And it's an event to show our recognition and appreciation to the members of our community that are good neighbors, that look out for each other. In our occupation, the residents are a key component in our success, and we're only as good as the quality of our community and our residents. So it's a way for us to show we appreciate them. It's kind of our night to say thank you, and to the criminal element out there that we're unified in keeping our community safe and clean.
Yeah, National Night Out is, definitely a night to sort of establish that bond between community and police, which, as we were sort of talking about before we got started, isn't necessarily in the best shape right now throughout the country. Although in Beaver County, it doesn't quite seem that way. It doesn't seem quite as volatile as the rest of the nation, although I may just be assuming. How does it look from your end?
So, we have pockets of the criminal element out there that, always make it challenging for us locally. I think it's just a small portions of it. Mm-hmm. I think we're a microcosm of some of the bigger things that are happening in some of our bigger cities across the country. It does happen on a local level, but not to the extent and frequency that it does in the bigger cities. We have our challenges, whether it be manpower issue, budgets, but we work through them. And one thing that I'm proud of in Beaver County is that the law enforcement agencies band together and work together when times get tough, and we get through it.
Yeah, I've been hearing about that a good bit this year. I know I've talked with District Attorney Lozier about stuff like that, where there's been talks of mergers and there's been talks of consolidation here and there, but ultimately, even without that, there's still this element, like you say, of working together between police departments, and what that does is establish a bond between communities through the help of the police.
Yeah, the local municipalities in Beaver County, a lot of them need to start coming together. Regionalization, certainly something that needs to happen in the future. But when we have major crimes that occur in the area, or even minor problems where we need more manpower, reaching out to the Beaver County District Attorney's Office and their resources, the state police, the Attorney General's office, the resources and manpower that they have. We have a tendency of being able to get the job done with those. Without those larger agencies and the resources that they bring to the table, it would be extremely difficult.
Yeah, and there are elements that are already rather difficult as they are, like you'd say, the budget issue has always been an issue, and manpower being one of the biggest ones right now, not just because of the sort of aesthetic that's being presented right now with the sort of divide between the public and the police, but also just the fact of, officers needing, more. I mean, what were the numbers you said about the Beaver County Police Academy in Pittsburgh over the course of the last year? The really small numbers as far as those graduated.
Right. So retention is very difficult now, and recruitment is horrendous. It's my understanding recently the Beaver County Police Academy graduated a total of 9 cadets. So, with the number of police departments just in Beaver County, that you have such a small number of prospect police officers that are coming out, the voids that need to be filled, whether it be from retirements or people choosing a better quality of life and getting out of law enforcement, those voids aren't being able to be filled. So it just makes it very difficult. And the National Night Out is just an example of us to say, hey, we're here. We're the dedicated members of the community, the dedicated members of the police department. It's just a night to come together and enjoy each other, as well as the businesses, especially in New Brighton. The support that we get from a lot of our local businesses is just we wouldn't be able to do it.
That's true, yeah, and the businesses have been very supportive of the police, especially in a place like New Brighton, where I know I've been to council meetings where they've been talking about, the things that, they want to see, and, they say, that they want you guys to sort of be part of that process. It doesn't even matter if it's sort of like the small things, whether it be like noise complaints, although, that's another debate for another time. But it is an element, where they sort of reach out to you and say, hey, we trust you to do what, to protect us, to help us, and, be part of our community. And that is what National Night Out is all about, because, again, for all the things we've been hearing over the course of the last, several years about the way the police and public get along, or lack thereof, that, especially in these smaller communities that are, in Beaver County, there is that connection. There is that willingness to help out. And I think, too, as we talked about a few weeks ago with Officer Vincent from New Swickley, there's an element to remind the public that police officers are, in fact, human beings, just like the public are.
Yeah, all too often we have to remind people that, whether it be politicians or the general public as a whole, and our youth, that we are human. We often have emotion that is involved in the job, and to be able to remove emotion, it's a double-edged sword. But it has been challenging times, to say the least, in the last 2 or 3 years. Not only the difficulty that the pandemic placed on us, but some of the things that happened in the occupation throughout the country, a lot of the protests and things of that nature. But locally, we have always had an immense amount of support from the community, and I can't stress this enough. We have good residents, we have good neighborhoods in New Brighton, and we're only as good as those core quality residents that we have, because we're a small department. We're a 9 full-time member police department. We're out there 24 hours a day, but the residents have a finger on the pulse of what's going on in their neighborhoods. And when something's out of line, I've always liked to say I'd rather be lucky than good, because I've been lucky many times in my occupation, based upon residents seeing things and calling us and put us in the right place at the right time to help either make an arrest or deter crime.
Now, let me ask you this, because I know we've been talking a little bit about, the way the residents and the way the public sees police, the way that, like you say, politicians see police. When you talk about being human beings and sort of, needing to reflect that to groups, who's it harder to get across to, the public or the politicians?
I would say, because more of our negative interactions are involved with the public, I would say that the public, even in New Brighton, our governing body, the Borough Council, and the members of the other communities that we provide police services to, they've always been very supportive of us. I would have to say that when I speak of politicians, it would be more of at the state and national level of how they don't realize their actions or their words, how much that affects what we do at a local level with boots on the ground.
That's a good point. I'm glad you sort of clarified that, because, locally, I think it's safe to say that the support has been immense for you guys as well.
Absolutely.
So, again, National Night Out tonight. Of course, it's a national night out, so it's going to be celebrated pretty much everywhere. But in New Brighton, it's going to start, I believe you said, at 6:30?
6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Townsend Park across from the Borough Building. And we'll have free food and beverages. There's entertainment. We have a DJ, some games and entertainment for kids. There's some raffles. I think the last one I left this morning from the station, there's like 6 or 8 bicycles that we'll be raffling off.
Oh, wow.
Bicycles. We'll have some fire trucks, ambulance for medic rescue. Our Beaver County Emergency Services units will have some displays that's equivalent to a SWAT team. The Sheriff's Department will have some personnel there, as well as a potential canine officer. And, come on down for a hot dog and a snow cone and enjoy an evening in the Borough Park.
Those are always the most fascinating parts of any National Night Out celebration. I'm starting to get a pattern here where it's always the demonstrations that are sort of like the big event that take place. Obviously you have your your DJs and your food, but it's always the demonstrations, whether it be medic rescue or the canine unit, or something along the lines of like the drunk obstacle courses I've heard about.
Right.
That there's this element of here's how things happen, and if you want to become a part of this, you can sort of get to that small taste of that experience.
Yeah, and it helps out in the bigger picture too, because your youth gets to come down and see some aspects of what we do, and it humanizes us. It shows us that we're human. They get to see some of the equipment. A lot of people see an ambulance or a fire truck or the police car, driving to an emergency through their neighborhood. They don't have the opportunity to interact or see what that equipment's about. So it gives an opportunity for us to open the doors and say, this is what we're about, and this is what we do.
Now, when it comes to questions that you have to ask, and I've asked this with Officer Vincent as well, when people ask you questions about being in the police force, is it always something along the lines of what's the craziest thing that you've done, or do they want the juicy stories when it comes to those conversations, or is there an element of we're just we can tell you about what usually happens with us? It's not always the big things that go on.
Yeah, it's a lot of the small things. I can, I often said, keeping a diary when I started back in the mid 90s in police work, if I would have kept a diary, a lot of those stories begin to, mold into one, and you lose track of all the interesting, tragic, and very strenuous incidents that you were involved in. But a lot of the young kids ask you some have you ever been involved in a shooting and things of that nature. It's the small things probably throughout my career, and the more rewarding things to where you have victims, true victims of crimes that you're able to provide some form of justice to, or help them in general, that are very rewarding towards the latter part of a career.
Right, because and what you guys do is to help solve problems and to help keep crime away from the everyday lives of people. And again, it may not be the most high end shootout type of altercations that you guys deal with every day, but even the simple stuff like citing someone for going too fast, or citing someone for drinking where they shouldn't, or who they shouldn't be drinking with, stuff like that does help in small ways to help create this aura of peace and tranquility as best it can be in a place like New Brighton.
Absolutely, and discretion is a huge tool of ours in law enforcement, and used properly, you can do your job, and both, in a traffic stop situation, do your job as well as make a friend in that person, pull away, and being appreciative of what you had to do, and you were able to complete your task. So, again, it's a lot of the smaller things that are very rewarding, that help drive law enforcement officers to continue throughout their career.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing that you bring up, this element of being able to make a friend, or being able to establish a connection with the public, even if it is on the basis of, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Because again, it number one, it humanizes you guys from a standpoint of you guys are just trying to do your jobs and do everything else, but it also humanizes you guys from the point of all of these things that we hear about, police having so much power and so much sort of force and presence. Yes, you guys do have power, and you have an established power in a situation like that, but it's not a situation in which you're trying to be the bad guy. You're trying to be, you guys are trying to be the good guys. You guys are trying to be, peacemakers. You're not trying to be the violent agitators to separate, the good people from the bad people. That's, a lot of that, and like we've talked about off air, there are elements of that across the nation, but in Beaver County, that seems to be very minimal at best.
Yeah, I agree. I think that most law enforcement officers go to work. Who likes to work extremely hard? And I think when you have difficult situations, most police officers would rather it be calm, cool, and collective.
Mm-hmm.
That it makes it easier on us. Even the longevity in the career, just the less stress, and the health elements that stressful situations bring on. But I was listening to the radio earlier just about the trash. Pennsylvania having a movement to try to clean up the trash.
Mm-hmm.
And I recall, again, going back to that discretion, some of the more rewarding times, somebody littering at 2:00 in the morning and giving them the option. clean up the block right now of trash and no citation, or I can just give you your citation, you'll be on your way. And you'd be surprised how often people would be willing to walk that city block and clean up all the trash rather than having to deal with a ticket. So you have to be able to think outside the box and find different ways to get the job done so that you do walk away with a sense of accomplishment and the individuals walk away with, appreciation for the job that you're doing.
Absolutely. And I think, a lot of that's going to be reiterated tonight at National Night Out.
Absolutely.
Again, it's going to be at Townsend Park in New Brighton. Again, it could be anywhere else. I know New Swickley has theirs, Beer Falls is going to have theirs, but for New Brighton, it will be at Townsend Park from 6 to 8 tonight. And again, it's going to be a nice night for everybody to sort of get a connection with their local law enforcement. Chief, thank you so much for joining me this morning and talking about that with us. And best of luck to you throughout the rest of the year and a special night to get in touch with the community.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Beaver County.
Appreciate it. News next here on AM Beaver County, here on Beaver County Radio.